this context, and her topic today will be about the illustrations of Maria Triesenhaus about a bull in Fabulous Deus. And yes, I'm now not reader from the sheets, so sorry for that. And the floor is yours.
Dear colleagues and organizers, I am very thankful for the possibility to participate in this conference. So, in 1854, Pope Pius IX proclaimed the dogma of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the bull Ineffabilis Deus. And French theologian Marie-Dominique Serret initiated the translation of this bull into all languages of the Catholic world, including extant and regional dialects. This collection was conceived as a gift to Pope Pius IX. Translated into more than 300 languages, into dead languages and dialects, only the title or the main page of the bull was translated. It was a huge undertaking. Various influential figures in the Catholic world undertook the translation, while those who with artistic talents wrote them out by hand in calligraphy, illuminated them and bound them in luxurious bindings. For example, the Spanish version was illustrated by Queen Isabella II, and the bulls of the three languages of the former Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in Polish, Lithuanian, and Church Slavonic were illustrated by noble women closely associated with Lithuania. The illustration of the translation into Polish was entrusted to Countess Maria Tyzenhauz-Przesdecka, who was the heiress of her native Rokiškės manor in Lithuania after the death of her brother Reinhold Tyzenhauz. The Countess was a bright and respected personality, famous not only for her beauty, but also for her good deeds and works. She received an excellent upbringing and education first at her parents' estate in Pastovies Manor, and in 1842 she married the Polish historian Count Alexander Przesdecki and naturally moved to her husband's home in Warsaw, where she actively participated in cultural life and traveled extensively throughout Europe with her family. But after the death of her husband, or later her brother Reinhold Tyzenhauz, the Countess focused mainly on patronage and philanthropic activities. Having inherited the Rokiškės manor, she took great care of the native land. Her most notable contribution was the completion of the construction and furnishing of the Rokiškės church, which had been started by her brother. Art was also an important part of Maria Tyzenhauz-Przesdecka daily life from childhood. The calligraphic transcription and illustration of the Polish translation of the bull is considered one of Przesdecka's most mature works, which was entrusted to her for a reason. In December 1846, she and her husband were received in audience by the new Pope Pius IX. In Rome, the Countess also met Alexander Wielowicki, the translator of the bull into Polish. And these meetings and connections undoubtedly influenced the decision to choose this distinguished and artistically talented person to illustrate the book. The Countess had doubts due to her failing eyesight, but a visit to Lourdes helped her make up her mind. The Countess' entire life was a testament to her sincere devotion to God and her homeland. Countess wasn't a professional artist, but she was very talented. Maria Tyzenkaus-Pszezdecka began work on the illustration of the bull in 1857. The multi-layered iconography consists of Mariological and historical national themes. The creation of the visual program was influenced by her husband, who collected and published material on Polish cultural monuments. The Pszezdecki family were supportive of the restoration of the Polish-Lithuanian state, perceiving their homeland as historical Poland, later the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. So the Polish version is rich in Lithuanian imagery. The content reflects the history of Poland and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth through a religious perspective in the 11th and 18th centuries. The manuscript consists of 26 pages with miniatures decorated the headings and framing the text of the bull, while 16 pages contain a list of the depicted objects in French. The miniatures are characterized by the eclectic style that was widespread in 19th century art, combining elements of art from different eras with the manner of illumination found in old manuscripts. The artistic features were beautifully described by her grandson Reinhold Pszezdecki. I quote, each page retains the ornamentation of the old style, inspired by ancient missals and hymnals, with fragments of architecture and precious stones, consistently transferring us from Romanesque plant prints to Gothic flower, Renaissance friezes, Baroque shells, Classicist columns, and fragments of Empire decoration. Composed within these frames with an unusual artistic ornamental concept to decorate the coat of arms of Poland and Lithuania, the duchies, voivodeships, and clans, as well as the coats of arms of great men and great nations. The medallions feature images of the patron saints of Poland, portraits of kings and queens, statesmen, leaders and scientists, landscapes of cities and castles, entire battle scenes. Above the images of saints, portraits of kings, images of cities, shrines, palaces, battles, and triumphs, the Blessed Virgin Mary of Immaculate Conception reigns supreme on every page. At the end of citation. As mentioned, the miniatures are rich in symbols of Lithuanian identity, coats of arms, the coats of arms of famous Lithuanian families, and significant objects of Lithuanian culture. The Countess was undoubtedly familiar with other publications of the time dedicated to cultural monuments, which were abundant in the context of 19th century Romanticism, and the Counts acquired them, including the Vilnius albums. The graphic examples published there must have influenced the miniatures in the bull, as a comparison reveals similarities between some of the images, and the Rokiškis Meno collection contains surviving prints from the Vilnius album. Of course, not only from these examples, they are not only from the Vilnius album, but examples were the other works of art as well. There are the covers of the Poland manuscript of the Bull in Fabulous Deus. The covers were produced in Fontaine's workshop in Paris. They are made from steel, gilded and silver plated. On the front cover is affixed the Polish coat of arms, a silver eagle with the gilded crown. On the back cover, the coat of arms of Pope Pius IX. And it's interesting that the ornamentation of the covers recalls the armor worn by Polish ruler John Sobieski when he liberated Vienna from the Turkish siege in 1683. It was noticed by Polish researchers. There are title page and frontispiece illustration, Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception. In the initial letter B, Maria Pszezdecka depicted herself presenting her illustrated bull to Pope Pius IX. But, however, this vision never came to pass. The work, which required great patience and meticulous effort compared with a monastic Benedictine process, was not completed before the Countess' death in 1890. Through the efforts of her son Constant, the bull was delivered to Vatican. This is dedication page. In a monochrome composition, miraculous images of the Mother of God are depicted. Polish images dominate, for example, Our Lady of Sorrows from St. Martin Church of the Augustinian in Warsaw, the Holy Family image from the Sanctuary of Kalisz, or the Virgin Mary of Rokitno. But there is also the image of Our Lady of Grace from the Church of Saints Peter and Paul in Vilnius, upper right. And in the lower medallions are depicted the Polish translation of the bull Alexander Leowitzki, Pope Pius IX, and Countess Maria Pszezdecka with her sons Constant and Gustav. And beneath them, the coat of arms of the Pszezdecki and Tyzenhauz families. And this portrait of Maria Tyzenhauz with her sons was less known in Lithuanian historiography until now. On the page decorated with Gothic ornamentation, Lithuanian and Vilnius themes dominate. The Sapiego Madonna from the Church of St. Michael the Archangel in Vilnius, on Vilnius Cathedral. Below is depicted the Gothic Church of St. Anne in Vilnius, and in the lower frieze is a scenic panorama of the city of Vilnius. At bottom right, the sculpture of Saint Christopher, patron of Vilnius. In the other frieze, the coats of arms of notable Lithuanian noble families depicted. The page devoted to the 15th century highlights Saint Casimir, the patron of Lithuania. At the top right, the saint is shown with a palm branch. Probably it was depicted according to this picture, which was published in the book by her husband Alexander Pshezdzietzky. It was the prior book. In the Lower Frieze at the center is the scene of the Holy Mass celebrated in the chapel of St. Casimir in Vilnius Cathedral depicted. And undoubtedly it was done with reference to a lithograph from the Vilnius album. And the flanking medallions are Polish astronomer Copernicus and historian Jan Długosz depicted. The page dedicated to the 16th century emphasized the Union of Lublin, which was the union of Grand Duchy of Lithuania and Poland in 1569. In the Lower Frieze, in the center, I depicted angels holding the medal of the Union of Lublin. On the right is Sigismund Augustus, who supported the Union because of the threats of the war with Moscow and the occupation of Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Next to him is the portrait of his beloved and beautiful wife, Barbara Radziwiłł. Barbara, this miniature was made after the lithograph from Vilnius album, and this lithograph was made after the portrait of Radziwiłł Portrait Gallery in Nešviš. In this page, figures from the second half of the 16th century are shown. Henry of Valois, ruler of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth for only 1 year, between the coats of arms of France, Lithuania and Poland. Stefan Bator, his wife Anna Jagiellon, and in coronation robes, after the painting by Martin Kohlberg. Among these figures is included the Virgin Mary of Consolation from the Church of St. John's in Vilnius, formerly belonging to the Church of the Vilnius Augustinian Monastery. This image from the album, after a lost painting, had not appeared in Lithuanian historiography until now. In the Lower Frieze, in the center, the facade of St. John Church and the Vilnius University courtyard is depicted. The page devoted to the 18th century is characterized by Baroque ornamentation. On the top left, the chapel of St. John in Warsaw Cathedral after painting of Martin Zaleski. In the altar is the image of the Immaculate Conception. Below are portraits of the King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania, Augustus III, and his wife, Maria Josefa, after paintings by the French artist Louis de Sylvestre. Among the miniatures stands out a self-portrait of Szymon Czechowicz, one of the most notable 18th century painters of Lithuanian Poland. In creating this miniature, the Countess referred to the self-portrait of Szymon Czechowicz that has been preserved at Rokiškis Manor. Vilnius themes dominate this page. At the top of the sheet is the famous sculpture of Jesus of Nazareth from the Trinitarian Church in Vilnius, now in Saint Peter and Paul Church. The image of Our Lady of the Gate of Downs with 12 candles and the view of each chapel. These miniatures made after the lithographs from Vilnius album, probably. She looked only at the part of these images. In this context, the portrait of Tadeusz Kościuszko stands out. It is a reference to the uprising he held in 1794, which also took place in Lithuania, thus expressing silent support for the national liberation of the Commonwealth nation and opposition to Tsarist Russian rule. It is interesting that Kościuszko and Przesdecki family share the same coat of arms, Roch 3, depicted in the left border. Among monochrome depictions of historical figures, for example, Adam Czartoryski, Julia Niemcevich, and others, painted in a manner imitating the Versailles technique, stands out the Virgin Mary holding the three-flowered spring, playfully reached by the child. The three-flowered rose symbolizes the three parts of the rosary. This is the Madonna of Agluana, one of the best-known copies of the image of Our Lady of Trakai. Our Lady of Trakai is patroness of Lithuania. So, in conclusion, the visual entirety of the manuscript testifies to the Countess's strong faith and love for her homeland, which flourished until it disappeared from the world map after the partitions of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, her native Lithuania, and her silent resistance to Tsarist rule. This report aimed to highlight the Lithuanian aspect of iconography and some possible prototypes of the images. And the report was prepared in support of the exhibition, of the forthcoming exhibition, Vytis and Lily in Rokiškis Regional Museum. This exhibition is organized by the Rokiškis Regional Museum, to which both in Lithuanian and Polish will be brought from the Vatican.
Also, thank you very much for this most interesting presentation. Are there any questions, or you have time to think about it? I actually have one question, because I briefly looked up what this bull was about. It was about the Immaculate Conception, which is a dogma that was really very late introduced in Catholicism, but was in the middle of 17th and 18th century sacrality very much promoted by the Counter-Reformation. So it is quite a conservative approach. But my question would be, what has this text actually stating the virginity of Mary to do with all the Lithuanian illustrations around it? I saw that there are many Marian devotional pictures around, but it's so pointedly national in the rest of the illustrations that it's really a little bit strange. Did she hope for some support from the Pope, or what was her intention? What are your thoughts about? Thank you.
Yes, it was her intention attention to emphasize her attitude, her feelings to homeland, and as I said, she was against this Tsarist regime, Tsarist rulers, and it was a possibility to remind the history of the Bolshevik Commonwealth. Of course, the main context is the images of Virgin Mary, but among them there are a lot of historical scenes.
Yeah, thank you. Usually, if you have a book illustrated, the text and image are in some kind of relation, and it really struck me that this was kind of erupted. It's a whole other story told by the images concerning Lithuania, and the other images from the Virgin Mary. So it's really a rare example. I never knew a book that was so where the illustrations were so far apart from the text. And there was a conference on the text and illustration relation 2 years ago, which I only briefly scrolled the conference papers, but it was quite interesting. This would have been an excellent example for a very strange relation between text and images. So, any more questions about this fascinating topic on Catholicism? Okay, if there are not, Ausra, again, thank you very, very much for this presentation.